Welcome to another episode of Home Visit with Tyler Siskey and the Associates. And as always, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, D.J. Eliot. D.J., how are we doing today, my brother?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be here with you guys this morning. That's for sure.
I saw you enjoying your is it coffee or tea? What do we got over there?
You know what? This is like a very manly green tea right here, but like the manly kind. You know what I mean?
Manly kind.
Like, yes. I mean that thing. I put tea in it and then I just fill it with testosterone. After that, you know what I mean? So it's got me all cranked up this morning.
I like
sure.
that. A little tea, a little
Yeah.
testosterone ready to go. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. It's what tough football coaches drink. That's for sure.
As you can see, I'm representing the A today. Okay, we got the Braves at
Okay.
home. I got to support them in case this is the last time I get to wear this hat for the year. By next week, I may be wearing it next week, or I may not be. So we'll see next Monday. But
Yeah.
you know, DJ, there's a rumor going around that you had a 5-0-1 weekend. Is there any truth to that?
No, there's no truth to that because the fact is I have a 6-0 weekend.
A 6-0.
Challenging. Yes, I'm challenging the tie. Okay, we have sent an appeal to the commissioner, and we are waiting on his decision right now.
All right, hang on. I'll check. So, what is the appeals? All right, Michigan. You had Michigan -3.
I had
And
Michigan
then-
-3, and the line changed to 2.5. Okay,
By kickoff.
And by kickoff, and according to the home visit policy, is if the line changes in favor of the prediction, then we go with the line that's in our favor. And somehow that was missed by the officials, and we're going to have to file an appeal. We're going to have to get that corrected.
Commissioner, do you approve the appeal? The appeal has been approved. So
Go. So we officially have the first 6-0 weekend, and I appreciate it. You know, all the support that the guys that have been with me for my picks, and it's not just about me; it's about you. Okay, we've been riding this thing all season, and we finally have met our undefeated week, and you know it's going to go down as one of the greatest weeks in picks of all time, and I'm just fired up about it.
I did have a call or a text from somebody out of Atlanta, Georgia, that said, "Hey, tell DJ I appreciate the Charlotte over FIU Friday night pick because I made a little money on it." So hey, we
Boom.
got people that are riding with you, DJ. And look, they should. You went 6-0 last week.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? It's kind of like you've been saying. You know, eventually, just kind of get in your rhythm.
groove.
You know, you get in your groove, and that's where I'm at right now. You know, I'm just in my groove. I think I got a feel for it, and we're gonna make a heck of a run this second half of the season.
Yeah, I'm in a groove too. It's called the 50-50 groove. So
Yeah, you're par, man.
Yeah, I'm par. For the second week in a row, okay, I started out 3-0, got to the night games, okay, and went 0 in the night games. Okay, so I'm doing great until 6 o'clock. And then when 6 o'clock comes, I'm just like, God, come on. I have
a recommendation. I got a recommendation for you. Is, you know, when I was little, growing up in Oklahoma, you know, my grandmother, who I call Nana, she told me, don't count your chickens before they hatch, right? Okay, and you had a big win in that Houston game, and man, you were firing off on Twitter. I got this, you know.
Let's go.
Follow me, let's go. And you may have needed to you might have jinxed it a little. I know you're not a superstitious guy, but
Well,
you just need to see how it pans out.
I'm not superstitious. I mean, I think it's bad luck to be superstitious. So there you go.
Now I'm confused.
There you go.
Yeah, now you got me confused.
That's how we
You're
do
not you don't believe in superstition, but you think it's bad luck to be superstitious.
It's bad luck to be superstitious.
Is that superstitious?
That's a Siskeyism. I've been saying that for years. But the best part is I always would say that in my meeting room, and you know some guy would come in there, like it never fails. Every year you get a new crop of freshmen, and somebody's got to wear the an 85-year-old shirt underneath their pads. And I'm like, why are you wearing it? Oh, it's superstitious, coach. I said, it's bad luck to be superstitious. And they will just look at you and like they don't know if you're being serious or you're not. I just walk off and just let them think about it for a little while. So,
Yeah.
You know what the best? You know what the best thing? I was all messed up. My players, we do have some that listen, so they'll get a kick out of this. So every time I would get a new crop of players, so we'd be in the meeting room, and it's like, and it never fails. Like I got them, it was every single year, and they always fell for it. So I would come, you're like 2 weeks into camp, and you're meeting, and it's late at night, and you're in that camp grind, and so we'd come in there, and we'd be in the meeting. I was like, hey, go down and get the keys from the equipment guy and go outside and turn the goalpost off, or we go home. And they would go ask the freshmen, so they think you're dead serious because they're just eager to please and they want to do whatever. They would literally go down to the equipment room and ask the equipment guy if they could get the keys to the goalpost so we could turn off the goalpost before we went home. That happened. Oh. And then we had the infamous like we would go and then they would come in. This was always every year you would come in. They'd be like, your manager would come to the meeting room and they'd be like, hey coach, do you need anything extra for practice today? For endo. And I'd be like, no, I'm good. And then it happened once or twice a week, and they'd go off. And then I would send the next freshman down and say, hey, can you go tell them I changed my mind? I need them to put in the football bat. I need a football bat for endo today. And they just went down and they would ask the equipment guy for a football bat. So, it's fun. It's what we do.
Well, you got to make it fun. You know what I mean? Football is such a grind that if you don't make it fun, it can just become miserable. And we could sit here, I think, all day and talk about tricks and jokes that we made, as football coaches with the football players. Some of them are hilarious, man. Who comes up with the best ones are the players. The tricks that players play on other players. I mean, that stuff is hilarious.
It's good stuff. So, all right, we're gonna dive right into it there, DJ. And without question, in my opinion, the best weekend of college football that we've had so far this year. What a weekend, huh? What a Saturday.
No doubt. And you know what? We knew that going into it because of the matchups. Here you are, Iowa, Penn State. You got Oklahoma, Texas. We just had so many good. And then we had the battle for, I like to say, for the bronze between Arkansas and Ole Miss. In the Olympics they have the semifinals, right, for the gold medal. And then the winners go on to play in the gold medal, and the guys that lost in the semifinals, they play for the bronze. Well, this week with Arkansas and Ole Miss, it was the battle for the bronze, and what a game that was, and that came down to the last wire. Just a fantastic weekend of football.
We're going to start off with a game that I know was near and dear to your heart. We're going to start off with a Texas OU game.
What a game! What a game! And it lived up to every expectation that we talked about last week. Now it didn't look like it was going to. It looked like it was going to be a blowout. But this game is usually a tight game and high scoring. And you know what was crazy about this game? 6 touchdowns in the first quarter. It was 28-14 at the end of the first quarter. 6 touchdowns were scored in the first quarter of this game. Okay, and it looked like it was completely going in Texas's favor.
That's where if I messed anything up last week and I looked at it and I knew I came this close to Tech. I know we talked about it beforehand. One of the picks I threw out was the Texas-Oklahoma over. And not very happy that I did that, but anyway, it is what it is. But because neither one of them was tackling. Nobody's going to tackle anybody. And
I think you would have hit the. I think you would have hit the over in the first quarter.
Yeah.
This thing was crazy.
Yeah. Nobody tackles anybody, and it's just it's crazy. It's just like it is what it is. But do we have a quarterback controversy in the land of Oklahoma today? Since you're the Oklahoma resident, do we have a controversy? What are we doing in Oklahoma? What's the media? They got to be having fun this week, huh?
Yes. I don't know about the media, but I can know about my cousins, and my cousin seems to think that they know more than the media anyway. And there is a legit controversy going on down there. As you know, I didn't think it was respectful, but the fans were calling for Caleb Williams a couple games ago. You know, they've been wanting to see him on the field for the last few weeks, and he had a heck of a debut. I mean, he came out, played lights out, brought him back. Tremendous throwing the ball, tremendous running the football. Freshman, it's really this for Spencer Rattler. I mean, this might be the Drew Brees, Tom Brady situation for him. You know, it's just it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because I mean, if you come in off the bench from behind against Texas and you bring the team back to victory, I mean, you're an urban legend down there. You know. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens at Oklahoma.
Yeah, but here's the serious thing is, you know, Spencer Rattler makes it easy on himself to not like, and I think even his own fans don't like him. He's put himself out there and kind of, you know, with this QB1 thing, and if you haven't seen the show on Netflix, QB1, you know, he's the easy person not to like, and I don't know the kid, never met him, and I don't know if that's, you know, production or some kind of, you know, side that he wants to portray in marketing, the bad guy or whatever. But, you know, he kind of set himself up, you know, for it, and so, you know, it'll be interesting to see who rolls out there this weekend. I think if Caleb Williams doesn't roll out there and it is Spencer Rattler, I think the OU fans may go nuts, but. It'll be interesting to see what happens come Saturday.
Definitely. This is going to be one, believe me, that all eyes are going to be on that first possession to see who rolls out there as a starter.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll be tuning in. I'm just curious, so we'll see. But
you're going to watch at least the first play.
I will watch the first play, and then I'll turn it off after that because I could care less. But all right, so we'll move on to the next game, which pretty much, unless you were like a huge fan of Iowa, a huge fan of Penn State, or a football coach, you probably didn't even like watching this game. The Iowa Penn State game was like a time. Well, we went back in time 25 years and watched a game that took place 25 years ago. I mean, put you to sleep. There was nothing exciting about it except you're like, oh, wow, Iowa won the game. They came back and won the game. There's nothing exciting about it, but all they do is win, and they just, you know, physically beat you up until you submit. I mean, that's basically what that's their game plan. And it was both teams' game plans.
Yeah.
So, you know, did you get a chance to watch any of that game?
I did. I watched some of that game, and I think you got to speak for yourself, man. I'm a defensive guy. I mean, when I see a defensive battle, to me, that's like a heavyweight fight. You know, that's a heavyweight fight that goes 11 rounds. You know, there might not be a lot of flash, but, I mean, there's a lot of grunt and there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and those are some of the things I appreciate about football. And these two teams, you know, they both operate that way. They both operate where they're trying to be smart on offense and they're trying to play solid defense. And because of that, no matter who they play, they're going to be in every game. You know, they may not have a lot of blowouts, but they're not going to be in position where they're out of games either. And this one definitely was one that came down to the wire. And kudos to Iowa for its 6-0 start. And I mean, what a run they're having.
Yeah, are they the number 2 team in the country though?
They you know, to me, when you look at the rankings, are you evaluating the rankings based off of the way that the teams have played in each game, or are they power rankings? You know, power rankings are no matter what your record is, you're better, and we think you're going to win the game, right? And so if you're ranking the teams based on how they played in the games, then Iowa is the number 2 team in the country. And I'm probably going to tune out a lot of Midwest listeners right now, but even though the Alabama lost to Texas A&M, from a power ranking standpoint, it's hard for me to say that any other team in the top 5 is going to beat Alabama. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people are like, well, they should have gone lower. They didn't go low enough. And I'm like, all right, tell me which one of those teams that you think's are ranked ahead of them, that if they were to play them tomorrow, that would be favored over Alabama.
Yeah, well, none of them would be favored at all.
Right. Or that you think would win. And that's where, you know, you have to realize that rankings are based off of the way that you've played this season and not necessarily power rankings. Now, it's a good thing I'm not a voter because I would vote probably power. That would be in my mind every time. I would look at the teams that are on the top 10 or the top 25, and I would say, okay, how many of these teams ranked ahead of them do I think could beat them? And if I don't think they could beat them, I wouldn't put them ahead of them. You know, and that's probably why that they've never asked me to help anybody with the rankings. But that's I think that's something that is interesting about rankings is it's based solely off of what you've done on the field this season, not necessarily which team is the better team, which that would be called power rankings.
Yeah.
So
I just I think a Big Ten team gets in. Now they don't have to play. They won't have to run into Ohio State to the end, and that's if they get through. But the style of football that they play, they can get beat. And that's regardless of, they're playing Purdue this week. And if you're the number 2 team in the country, you're favored by more than 12 points against Purdue. And so it's like they can win any game, they can lose any game. It just depends on how it goes. But that they're going to be I'm interested to see what happens to them moving forward. So but if I think they have to go undefeated to get in. I don't think they're a one-loss Big Ten team that gets in. At the end of the day, the Big Ten, in my opinion, is going to come down to, and if I was on the committee, this is what I'm doing. It's like, hey, we're putting a Big Ten team in. Whoever wins the Big Ten championship, you're in. And I think that's where it's at because you got Ohio State with 1 loss. You got Penn State with 1 loss. You got Iowa that's undefeated. Michigan's undefeated. And so I think it's
Michigan State's undefeated.
Michigan State's undefeated. Don't let me leave out Michigan State. And, you're looking, and there's this wild card called Indiana out there, right? And Indiana can beat anybody any week too. So even though they've lost 3 games, and when you look to, at first you're like, well, I don't know. They've lost 3 games, but who'd they lose to? They lost to Penn State. They lost to who did they lose to? Iowa, Penn State, and somebody else that's good. I don't remember who it was. But my point is this: is that now they got Michigan State this week. Michigan State's undefeated, and then they're 3-point favorites. So,
I have an interesting question for you.
Yep.
Is the Big Ten East, okay? Iowa, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, okay? Is the Big Ten East this year a tougher division than the SEC West?
Man, get out of here. No.
There's a lot of people that are saying this season it may be from top to bottom a tougher division. I'm just telling you. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying that's my opinion. I'm just saying there's a lot of people there's chatter that this is maybe one of the first years in a long time that the SEC West is not the toughest division in college football. Think about it. Just think about it for a minute. I know you and I are biased because we've spent so much of our career in the South, and neither one of us have coached in the Big Ten. Okay, now I've coached in every other league, but not the Big Ten. But LSU's not LSU, right? Okay, A&M did beat Alabama, so it's hard to say that A&M isn't what they're living up to now. You know what I'm saying? Auburn's good, but are they a national championship contender this year? You know what I mean? Mississippi State's a solid team, right? And then Ole Miss and Arkansas are playing better than they usually do, but still, when they went and played Alabama and played Georgia, it was a bloodletting, And then here you're sitting over here in the Big Ten East, and you've got Iowa, who's undefeated. You've got Penn State with 1 loss, who beat Auburn. You've got Ohio State with 1 loss. You got Michigan State, who's undefeated, and you got Michigan, who's undefeated. I'm just saying it's an argument that's out there.
Home Visit will now drug test all of its employees to make sure that.
I didn't say it was my opinion. I said that it's something that a lot of people are talking about. I'm trying not to be biased. You know what I mean? I'm trying to gain more listeners. Okay.
I'm with you. Okay. I see. I see the record, and we'll get to Alabama, Texas A&M in a minute. I see the records. I understand all that, but at the end of the day, the problem with the SEC, and this is the reason that's the toughest league to play in, is there's no question who's got the better athletes, okay? And week in, week out, it doesn't matter who you play, you have to bring it every single week. Like, and there's no layups. There's not, unless you're playing Vandy. That's your layup. Okay, if you're playing Vandy, you got a layup. Okay, but even South Carolina, of all people, South Carolina's got enough athletes to beat you up a little bit. Okay, and you get dinged up and just running the gauntlet week in, week out, and on the road, and the hostile environments and all that stuff. It's just, that to me is the reason, and we'll get to the Alabama, like I said, Texas A&M deal in a minute, but that's why the SEC is the SEC. It's like, yes, LSU, which we'll talk about LSU in a minute too, next, but they still got athletes, and in any given Saturday, they can roll out there and out athlete you and get matchups that are in their favor. So, but it is what it is. Yeah, I'm not ready to say that. So we've already spent too much time on the Big Ten. I'm done. So let's move on to the greatest league in the planet. Let's talk a game that you were at. Okay, let's talk a little bit of LSU, Kentucky.
I tell you what, I was back in Lexington, which I coached there for 4 years with Mark on his first staff and on the sideline, and the Kentucky Wildcats. I mean, they played lights out, really, really played lights out, and what an atmosphere that they had there. 2 weeks in a row, the atmosphere in Commonwealth Stadium was incredible, and it was great for me to see because Mark and I, when we went there from Florida State in 2013, 2013 was our first season there. We didn't have the facilities, we didn't have the support, we definitely didn't have the talent, and 9 years later, the administration does an excellent job of sticking with Coach Stoops through the tough times, and that is a legitimate SEC program now. Okay?
Oh yeah.
And I mean, they are legitimate. You know what I'm saying? And Will Levis is the transfer quarterback from Penn State, is playing lights out. They haven't had a quarterback like that in a while. He can throw it, he can run it, he can lead, he can make decisions. Defense is playing really good, and they play really hard. And one thing about Mark is he puts an emphasis on coaching, recruiting, okay, and X's and O's. He doesn't, he wants his coaches to work hard and be skilled at all three. And I think you can see that on the field. Okay, when he brings in assistant coaches, he wants them to be skilled at all three. This in college coaching right now. Sometimes assistant coaches try to find a niche and then just move their way up that niche, and maybe they're deficient in one of those three. You can't just be a recruiter and not coach on Mark's staff. I mean, you're going to have to develop, and you can't just be an XO guy and not recruit, and then you can't just be a guy that maybe is a technique guy and not recruit. And you can see that on the field. I'm looking at things from a coaching perspective, and you can see that on the field that they've recruited well, they have good players, but yet they're coaching well and they have good X's and O's. The kids know what they're doing and they have a good attack. Okay, and you don't see that week in and week out. You don't see that week in and week out from teams. And granted, I'm a football coach, so I like to think how much of that goes back to coaching. But I can definitely see the positives from what Mark's doing at Kentucky and that aspect. And this game was a blowout from the beginning. I mean, they were up 21-0. LSU scored a couple touchdowns, and Kentucky put a couple more on them at the end. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know.
I had a great game.
I had the under, and
yep.
boy did I miss that one. Jeez, me Christmas. Like, let's go, man. We had I was feeling really good about where we were at going into the second half, and then we decided everybody wanted to decide to start slinging it and trying to catch up, and that was probably the worst case scenario because I was like, if Kentucky gets up and they're going to start throwing it, and And Mark is a great game manager.
Yeah.
On both sides of the ball, even though he's a defensive guy, and he softened up a little bit to let them get some stuff to get the clock moving and get the game over with. And I was like, if he was just playing base defense, we would have had the under. But, that's some things that I noticed that I guess most fans don't. But if he would just go and just play what his game plan was in the first half when he shut them out in the second half, it would have been under. But he was game managing, man, and he knew that he was going to get them. And so I was like, God,
hey,
I was cussing.
That is a great point. And you and I can sit here and talk football all day. But the average fan doesn't realize this. If you get up big, okay, you don't want to necessarily press your corners because now it's all time, okay, versus points. And what that means is how much
you increase the possessions if you do that. And what he's doing, and the fans, they were probably going to score, but he was going he got up so many possessions that he was decreasing the amount of possessions that they wouldn't have a chance to come back and catch up.
Correct.
By doing what he was doing.
Right. And it's funny. I always laugh at people like, man, well, they put together a couple good drives in the fourth quarter when they were down 48 and scored 14 points. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, they were giving them that just so they could get the game over with. You know what I mean? We used to make a joke when, if we were winning big, the offenses would leave their starters in there and we'd be like, you got 2 minutes, you got 4 minutes. We would call it 8 minutes. All right, here comes their 8-minute offense. They know that we're going to give them some softness and get some yards at the end of the game. They're going to try to get their stats right. You know what I mean? So we used to laugh at teams that would do that. They'd get their butt kicked the whole game and then score 14 points at the end. The fans not realize that we gave that to them. Just to get the game over with, make them eat clock to get down there. But, you're right. Mark does an excellent job in game management.
Yeah, I knew as soon as it got to 21-0, I was like, oh, man. I watched that first drive of the second half. I was like, I knew I was in trouble after the first drive of the second half because, he wasn't as aggressive. And I was like, oh, here we go. And sure enough, they ended up going. So another hot topic, it's been all over Twitter and I want to reiterate this before we move on to the next game, but, is Ed Orgeron going to make it through the week? Is Ed Orgeron do this, do that? Guys, I'm going to say it again, and I haven't heard as of today, as Monday morning, I have not heard anything, but hopefully they give Ed to the end of the year. And I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying that there doesn't need to be change or whatever it is. That's up for the AD. That's what he gets paid for. But if they make a change in the middle of the year, okay, the same exact thing that's happening to USC right now, okay, that I know for a fact is happening. I'll just leave it at that. I know for a fact it's happening. Can you imagine how tampered the LSU roster would be with if Ed gets fired before the end of the season? Like, every player on their roster has been recruited by the other SEC schools, and those relationships are already established. Like, it would be one phone call and gone. I'm talking about, like, the new coach has no players left because they don't know. And if there's established relationships, and look, they're going to have a chance, okay? Because I looked at LSU's upcoming schedule, and it doesn't look great, okay? So there's going to be a lot of chatter to try to get rid of him early. Before they get to the end of the year, and regardless of what the damage may already be done if you're an LSU fan. I don't know, barring him winning out the rest of the games, but I don't see that happening based on what I've seen. I could be wrong, but but let the guy get to the end to help if you want to help your program, don't fire the guy until the end of the season, because if you do, then you're not only are you starting over, you're starting over with no players because your roster is going to get shredded with a new transfer rule. So we'll see. But everybody wants to hit the fire button. Fire him, fire this guy. That's not always the best in today's world. That's not the thing to do. I mean, maybe last year, but not this year.
What is the good? Let's talk about it. Is there any good? I mean, because obviously. It's an emotional decision by somebody.
Correct.
They're mad and they want to show that they're going to do something about it, so they make that decision. But I mean, is there any good? The only argument that anybody ever has any good is that they can get a head start on talking to other coaches. But
Which
you've already
is
pointed out that
total
which
bullshit.
you've already pointed out that's not accurate. Nobody that's in the middle of a season has any time to even mess with that. You know what I'm saying? Or would they do that to their current team? And so I'm with you. Just let the season play out. Judge them on the whole season, and make your decision there. I mean, there's just so much turmoil when interim coaches and what I mean. It's just a mess.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that later on too. But I mean, all the fans want to fire people because they think, oh, it makes me feel better because he's no longer calling it. That doesn't make your team better. And it's like we go back. I was sitting there people were laughing at me the other day because I'm watching the Auburn-Georgia game Saturday in between our baseball games we had to play. And the receivers are dropping balls. Okay, I was like, fire the coach. Because the coach is out there. It's like we fired the guy because they can't catch. Now the new guy. Now all of a sudden you get a new coach, they still can't catch. So I guess it's not coaching that makes them catch. People don't understand. If the change needs to be made, make the change. Just make it at the end of the year so you don't screw yourself. It's like, I don't know, man. It drives me nuts sometimes that people can't understand common sense. Hey, if your coach, because you get rid of a guy in the middle of the season, you're not going to get better. It's just going to get worse. It's not going to be any better for anybody because you can't you're not affecting just the coach you're affecting everybody. Okay, because that coach, whoever you're firing, these kids are used to his teaching style, whatever it is, man. It's just everybody has to change, and change is not great in the middle of a season. So, anyway, that is what it is. I'm going to get off my soapbox there. All right, moving on to the game that shocked everybody. This is also another miss I had because I picked Alabama to cover. I don't feel bad because everybody else missed it too. And if anybody tells you that they picked Texas A&M to cover, they lied to you. They didn't really bet it. But Alabama A&M, where are you at on that?
Shocker, really. But you know what? A&M, one thing, and you've already mentioned about the SEC West and especially A&M. The only thing I will tell you is A&M has players. A&M has players. They've done an excellent job recruiting. And when you have players, you can win any game. If you get them going in the right direction, you get momentum going, and the quarterback is into the middle of the season now, and maybe this was the game he turned the corner. Maybe this was the game that the light came on and he figured it out. But kudos to A&M. I thought they played really good on offense and defense. I thought they had good game management. Alabama had a heck of a run in the second half. I think they had 4 straight stops on defense, and it looked like things were going in their favor. And A&M turned it around and found a way to get in scoring position and kick a field goal and win that thing at the end.
Yeah, the thing about the quarterback, he's very talented. Then he needs reps, to get in there and get things. He's got to develop. And he has a rocket attached to his arm. Now, the thing that he's got to figure out is that there's this thing called touch, that every once in a while you need a little touch on the ball to make throws. But, this guy's throwing fastballs from 5 yards away. There was a lot of incompletions. He could have had more completions. There were a lot of times, especially later in the second half, he is throwing rockets, like on mesh, with free access throws. Just, hey, you got know who I always say, know who your audience is. If you running backs out of the backfield, running backs aren't used to catching rockets. You gotta make sure if you don't have to throw the rocket, you don't have to throw the rocket. So, but he's got to work on some stuff like that. Alabama, the second time, going on the road, the young quarterback in a hostile environment struggled. The turnovers is what killed Alabama, and this was the how you beat Alabama, right? So, Clemson a couple of years ago in the championship game kicked top to bottom beat Alabama. But besides that, it's been turnovers, opportune turnovers, just like any game. But they fumble on 3rd and 1 when they've got a drive going, and then throw the pick at the 1 yard line. And then Texas A&M, to credit, gets there. And then the biggest thing in the game for me that everybody's probably, everybody wants to second guess, which we'll get to in a second. everybody wants to second guess Coach Saban and all this. Why didn't they run the ball and all this stuff? Like, the guy's pretty good. And so I say all that to say this: if you're Alabama fans are as bad as anybody, they just don't have that many chances to complain. And so everybody's wanting to question Nick and this, and they should have done this. Like, he's pretty good. Okay, so
right.
I think you're safe. I think I wouldn't just chalk it up for an L. You got beat. Kudos to Texas A&M. You lost. Move on. You'll be okay. I promise you. Things will be okay. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. And then the last thing that I want to say that I can't wait, and I wish we were doing this live, okay, but you watch. This week is going to be the week that everybody is going to come out and say, hey, I told y'all back in the summer Texas A&M was going to beat Alabama. This was the year. This was the year. Ain't one person out there can sit here and look at you in the face and say that at 5 o'clock on Saturday that they thought Texas A&M was going to beat Alabama based on the last 2 weeks. They were basically like they were sweating bullets, all those hot takes in the summer, sweating bullets that they were going to get exposed. And now they can flip the script and they go, ha, I told you. So come on, that stuff's going to wear me out all week, but it is what it is. So that's how the media is. All right, the last game I want to cover before we get into this week's picks is the Ole Miss Arkansas game, the game that was going back and forth, and I got a chance to watch this bad boy from the third base coach's box on my phone. And I do have to openly apologize to our players because I was giving them this. I was like watching my phone. I had my phone. I was watching it, and I was like, they were up, and I was like, hey, I was like, steal. Like, hold, don't go. And I had no idea. I had no idea what was going on in the baseball game, so I was sitting there watching. Well, it was a fun game. And I got to go back and I watched some parts that I missed a while back. But that's why I didn't pick this game because I'll be honest with you, I thought if Arkansas covered, they were going to win the game. So for me, it was no reason even I would have taken the money line before I even taken the points. That part surprised me. And then the other part that surprised me is, they have seen the light in Oxford, Mississippi. And you know what? This guy named Snoop Connor, he's pretty good, DJ. He's got to be the best third team running back in the history of college football. So, I mean, the guy averages like 9 yards a carry. He's a beast, and I think he gives them, if they can get him involved, and I'm sure they will. I mean, like you got to after that game, and he was almost forced to be involved because Ely was out. Okay, so they had to get him involved, and he didn't do anything but, like I said, average like 9 yards a carry. He gives them a more physical downhill run presence, and he can run the perimeter too. And everybody's like, well, he's a big boy, he can't run. He did have a 51-yard run, and I would have to check the stats because I have not paid a lick of attention this year where it was. But somebody, and we have a lot of Ole Miss fans that listen to the podcast, DJ. So I would challenge compare how many home runs, because everybody's like, Snoop's a big boy, he's downhill, and he doesn't break long runs, and Ely's the fast guy, and he's the home run hitter. Check how many home runs that Ely has hit compared to Snoop Connor. I think you'll be surprised. That's going to be my scavenger hunt for all Ole Miss fans, is look to see how many home runs that Snoop Connor has hit compared to Ely. And I think you're going to be surprised because I already know the answer, so I think they're going to be surprised to find out that he hits more home runs than Ely. So they got to get the guy involved because that opens everything else up, man. When a guy's running like that and what they're doing on offense, they're already great on offense. They could take it. I mean, they're already elite, really, on offense. They could just go to another stratosphere with him involved, and it looks like they're going to have to score some points moving forward here, DJ.
Yeah, I think that you and I hit the nail on the head with this one, and the fact that they're facing the defense that they face in practice every day on both sides of the ball. And we expected this to be a high-scoring game, and we expected this to be a game where there were going to be a lot of rushing yards. And man, to start the game out, I was like, hey, there might not even be a pass thrown in this game on both sides of the ball to start this game out. And I think it lived up to what we thought. Both offenses understood what they were facing because they face it every day in practice, and the players were able to execute, and it came to an outscore fest. And I love Sam Pittman's decision to go for it on 2 at the end of the game. Especially if you feel like you have a good play. If you've got a good 2-point play that you've been working all week, okay, then shoot, you got a good chance to end this game in one play. And just didn't end up on the winning side for him. But man, what a shootout!
Yeah, the thing that was, both teams ran for over 300 yards. Okay, and I think after you saw, what Alabama did to Ole Miss 2 weeks ago, and then what Georgia did to Arkansas 2 weeks ago, and then they played each other, and they both ran for 300 yards. Now the problem is that you've shown everybody else what the weaknesses are. Okay, now, so that's when I was talking about, which I kind of already knew, but when I look at matchups and who's got, who can, that's going to be the problem. It's going to take a certain type of team to be able to move the ball on them and dominate them like they did up front. But I also said when it comes to the Ole Miss defense, I was going to reserve judgment until after this week, and I think it is what it is. I think when teams physically line up and go downhill at them, they're going to struggle. And if you look, coming in, everybody's like, oh, the defense is so much better. And they did. They came out, had a new scheme. They played Louisville, and they held Louisville to 0 points at halftime, first game of the year. Okay, but Louisville came back. People don't remember this, and they did score on every possession in the second half. Okay, and then they played a Tulane team, who's a 1-5 Tulane team now, right? And then they played an Austin Peay, which I don't know the record, but they're an FCS team, before they got into the Alabamas and all that stuff. And I think you're just going to see that moving forward in the SEC play is they know what's going. If they can line up, every team out there is going to line up and try to run right at them and run the duo scheme or whatever it is, with doubling the downs and trying to get those 3 down moved out of there, and they're going to force the DBs to come up and tackle. That's what they're going to do. And it's going to be instead of 4 yards in a cloud of dust, it's probably going to be 7 yards in a cloud of dust. But that's what they're going to do is they're going to make the DBs, because that's what in this scheme, that's what they do. The DBs have to fit. They're heavily involved in the run fits, especially in the outside gaps and more than normal. And they're going to force them to tackle, and that is what it is. So,
plus you get a lot of push. Plus you get a lot of push because, like I said last week, their second-level defenders are at safety depth, so you can just lay on those front 3 and get a lot of push.
And there's going to be a lot of chatter about firing the coordinators. You can't make a schematic change in the middle of the season. Okay, so it is what it is. You're not going to change your base defense. Week 6, 7, whatever we're in, and have any kind of success. So I don't know, man. I think it's like I said, the bed's made with the coaching staff. You might as well ride with it. I don't think that makes you any better. But there'll be a matchup problem, going forward. But the offense, they're good. So, all right, DJ. Without further ado, you know what time it is?
It's pick time.
It's pick time, and guess who gets the lead off this week?
Well, the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world. Me.
You did. You Tyson Furied me last week, man. You just put it on me.
Yes.
It was.
I just don't know. I just don't know if it went to the 11th round though. I may have Mike Tyson you.
Yeah. It was a rough week for any Alabama Tuscaloosa fan. How about this? They lose the game. Hey, did you know that they delayed the walk to the ring with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder until the Alabama Texas A&M game was over with?
That was smart.
Smart. Well, Deontay Wilder is from Tuscaloosa, and he trains in Tuscaloosa, so he's been the facility a bunch and all that. So it was a rough night for anybody involved with Alabama because Deontay Wilder gets knocked out and Alabama loses. That's a rough Saturday night. So without further ado, DJ, lead us off. Who you got for your first pick?
So after I've seen this in live and in color, I am taking the Kentucky Wildcats at Georgia. Georgia's 22-point favorites, and I think Kentucky's going to keep this game within 22.
You got 22 and a half. You got an extra. You got a half.
22 and a half. 22 and a half, and I am taking the Kentucky Wildcats.
I'm an honorary Big Blue Nation fan. I've also seen the other side live and in color. And I'm just for this show's case, I'm just not going to pick this game. But in my real life, I may be picking this game. But I'm not going to pick it for my picks. But yeah, all kidding aside though, 22.5 is a lot of points. I think Vegas is just keeps because Georgia just does nothing but cover.
Right.
They're going to have a tough time scoring points against Georgia. So but Kentucky's defense is good too. It's just a matter of how many points do you think Georgia can score? That's what you got to look. If you're a good wager on this game, how many points do you think they can score? So we'll go by that. All right, my first pick. I'm going right back to the well. Okay, the Alabama Crimson Tide is playing Mississippi State. And this line, because Alabama lost, this line is at 17. It's in Starkville. It's not enough, okay? I have been on that staff when we lost the game. I know what's about to occur. There's going to be some pissed off people. And Nick knows, man, he's got to – and now he knows he's got to get – dude, there's a sense of urgency going on in that building right now. And the sleepy giant has been awoken, okay?
Poke the bear. The bear's been poked.
The bear's been poked. I feel sorry for anyone that has to play Alabama for the rest of the year. They're going to be nice and pissed off, especially this week. And it's going to be like, oh, you can't play on the road with our cowbells. Okay, I'm just letting you know. And look, I love the state of Mississippi, but I am from Alabama. Alabama will blow them out. Blow them out. Because here's the difference. Everybody's looking at scores. Hey, you know what? Mississippi State went down to Texas A&M and won. Alabama lost. Let me tell you something. Texas A&M had the athletes to match up with Alabama. State's not there yet. Okay? They don't have the athletes to match up yet. And that's the difference. Alabama big. All right. Who you got, DJ? Pick two.
Pick two. Okay? And I hate to do this because I have so many friends at this program, players and coaches, but Texas Tech is 16.5 favored over the Kansas Jayhawks, and I'm taking Texas Tech at 16.5.
My second pick is also the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Okay, Texas Tech Red Raiders on the road in Lawrence, Kansas. There's going to be 6 people there to watch the game. Okay,
I know.
And they're all going to be friends and family of the people that are playing in the game. Texas Tech, like Kansas, like I think they're 0 for covering the spread. Texas Tech can score points. Texas Tech big. I'm with you.
Let me just say this too. The funny thing is, I went to Kentucky from Florida State, and then came to Kansas, and one of my friends calls me and says, "Who do you think you are? You think you're like the basketball school rebuilder or something? I mean, what's your next job going to be? Like, you know what I mean? You're going to be at some next basketball?
Yeah, you're going to Duke. Yeah, you're going to Duke.
Yes, I'm the basketball school rebuilder. But this is going to shock some viewers. But 2 years ago, when I came to Kansas, it was better off. It was better off from a talent standpoint, okay, than in 2013 when we went to Kentucky. It was better off. So that shows you how far Mark Stoops and everybody else, me and everybody else that was there at the beginning, how far that program has come. And I think that Coach Stoops had an excellent plan of going to that program and finding a way to take the stipulation that this is a basketball program. He had an excellent plan, and I saw the whole thing in place, exactly what he did to turn that thing into an SEC contender. And one of the biggest things is continuity. As Mark was given the time to do it, he was able to build the culture that he wanted to build. He was able to recruit the type of players they wanted to recruit. He was able to run the schemes that he wanted to run. And as bad as some people would say Kansas is right now, I'm telling you that in 2013, Kentucky, I'm the only person, okay, that was at both. Kentucky in 2013 was worse. And that shows you exactly how well a job that Coach Stoops has done at the University of Kentucky in building that program.
Yeah, real quick before we move on, but I 100% agree with you because I remember making the comment. That was my first year at Alabama, and we came to Kentucky and played like a night game or something. And in pregame, you're out there in pregame, all that stuff. I was looking over the other side, and I said, y'all had one player that could have played at Alabama at that time, and that was Darius Smith. Okay, and he's still playing.
Yes.
But one SEC-looking body. I mean, there just wasn't SEC bodies out there, but they've done a hell of a job. All right, DJ.
Wait, we haven't even thought about that. How many times have we been on the opposite sideline? Didn't even know each other. I was on that sideline that game.
Yep.
You know what was a tough deal for Kentucky at that time? I know I'm going over my time here and talking. Is, in the SEC, you play from the other division, you play one common opponent, and then the other one rotates. Right. So you're supposed to play the other teams like once every 6 years because there's 7 teams, right? Right. Well, we played Alabama, okay? We're at Kentucky. We're trying to get that program started. And then the next year they say, okay, we're starting back over. The rotation starts back over from the beginning. And to start back over in the new rotation, you guys get Alabama again.
Yeah, congrats.
we're like, wait a minute. I thought it was once every 6 years. Well, yeah, we started over. Sorry, man. Rough deal for you guys.
Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah, congratulations on that. Yeah, gotcha. It works. All right, DJ, third pick. Who you got?
All right, third pick for me is I have Stanford at Washington. Stanford's given 1. I think Stanford's going to beat them by more than 1 point.
Wow. Yeah, I have nothing for you on that one. So I'm going to let you continue to be the Pac-12 expert. I'm asleep.
I'll take that.
I'm asleep by the time they come on. I watch Oregon, and besides that, I have no interest.
I'll take it.
All right, my third pick. Right? Yep. Nope. Yep. I don't know. Third, fourth pick. I don't know. I'm taking the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Sneaky good football team. I mean, are competing their ass off. They're on the road against Minnesota. That's right. I said Minnesota. Okay, on the road. -2.5. I'm all over this one. Nebraska's a good football team, man. I mean, they had their slip up week 1. Last week, Michigan's undefeated. They take them to the wire, had a chance to win the game, the whole deal. I mean, the teams that they're sneaky good. Minnesota's not so much. I'm going Nebraska -2.5. All right.
Hey, you know what? Nebraska is sneaky. They're sneaky.
All
right. My next game for me is UCLA at Washington, or UCLA at Washington State. Sorry, UCLA at Washington State. And I'm taking UCLA on this one.
Gotcha. Is this your money line pick?
That's my money line pick, yep.
All right, UCLA money line. Again, Pac-12, I have nothing for you. All right, this next one is my lock of the week. The Ole Miss Rebels and the Lane train are rolling into Knoxville, the return trip. Okay, I don't know. I wonder if they've smoothed it over by now. Lane is like always trying to win the Tennessee fans back on Twitter. But that first trip back, he was on staff at Alabama when we went back for his first trip back to Knoxville. It wasn't so friendly. He had to have police protection. So not so friendly. But Ole Miss is going into Knoxville favored by 3. And guess what, DJ? It's not enough, okay? I mean, this game, there's going to be 57,000 possessions in this game, okay? Because Heupel's going to go as fast as he can. Levy and Lane are going to go as fast as they can. And it's just going to be – and Ole Miss is just like Tennessee's getting there, and I think they found a quarterback, but he's not number 2. He's not Matt Corral. So the Heisman Trophy winner – is the guy that's going to win the Heisman Trophy is going to be playing quarterback for one team, and this other guy is not a Heisman Trophy winner. I'm going with a Heisman Trophy winner winning by more than 3 points. I think they just outscore them. Somehow they figure out how to get a stop. They both know each other very well, so you're going to have this thing with Levy being with Heupel and vice versa. So the systems are the same. It's now like last week was the same defensive system. This week is the same offensive system.
That's what I was going to say.
And so with Tennessee playing a little bit more conventional and Ole Miss playing the defense that's basically built to stop this kind of offense, I'm going with Now, regardless, like I know they're probably going to try to run for 300 yards and kind of change what they're doing. But I think Tennessee's really – they beat up on Missouri and they beat up on South Carolina. Congratulations. Okay, this isn't that side coming in. So the tempo, the talent level is going to step up, especially on offense. I think they just get outscored by more than 3. I don't know. Like the over-under is like 264 on this game. I mean, it really is. It's like 80, 79, 80. Like I almost took the over. But I just don't – I went back and I watched Tennessee a couple times. I'm just not – they play fast. I don't know if they can consistently do that. This is going to turn into a game, in my opinion, kind of like the Tulane game, okay, to where Ole Miss is going to get up on them a couple possessions, and they're going to start having to do things and chase points and go for it on 4th and 10 from the 5. I mean, just do crazy stuff, and Ole Miss is going to spread it out over them. So my lock this week, Ole Miss -3.
Hey. That if you want to see some offensive football, I think that's the game that you need to tune into.
Yeah, the game may last.
And you hit
my son. May
you hit the
graduate
nail on the head, but
before it's over.
You hit the nail on the head too. Same offense, so it'll be interesting to watch them against each other.
All right, go
my
ahead.
next pick. My next pick is Louisiana Tech at Utep. Utep's getting 7. I'm taking Utep. Miners, how you said that you like to pick a team and roll with them. I'm rolling with UTEP. I mean,
they have not done you wrong.
They have not done me wrong. So I'm rolling with UTEP. I mean, they're getting 7. The game is at UTEP. And, I know those guys. Those are good coaches there. I think that they have done Dana's in his 3rd year, and he's Bill Snyder, a disciple from Kansas State. He knows how to get a program turned around. And I think they're getting there.
All right, my next one is my money line, okay? And I want to preface this because I didn't see a lot of money lines that I liked, just to be honest with you. I didn't sit there and go, oh, man. I mean, every other week I've been like, I see it, I see where I can find something I like. I really didn't find one I liked. It's a very difficult week to be an underdog and try to win outright. But this one I'm going to go with, and I'm going to make some of our listeners happy with this one. I'm going the Auburn Tigers or underdogs on the road at Arkansas, okay? Arkansas has been pummeled in the running game the last 2 weeks, all right? Auburn can't run the football, okay? They got the right running backs. I don't think they're great up front, but I don't think they have to be great up front. I think they're schematically, I think you can do some things with, the duo scheme with doubling the downs and getting – and really moving the line of scrimmage. I don't think you have to be great to do that. I think that's an effort thing because you are talented enough to be a scholarship offensive lineman in the Southeastern Conference. Like if you can't take 2 guys and move 1 guy, then there's a problem. But I think they're good enough, and with the running backs, I think they can put some stuff on the ground and run Bo Nix. That's another thing. The kid's athletic. I think they got some scheme with Matt Corral running for 90-something yards the other day. I think they got some things, and he's probably can run a little bit better than Matt. I think Auburn goes on the road. Now look, and wins. I'm going to say that, and I'm going to just bet cautiously with this one, because my only thing is this. The only thing that I wouldn't say it's a slam. If this was at Auburn, yes, lock it up. But playing in Fayetteville, it's hard to do, man. It's a tough place to play. It just is. I can't. It's like I don't know. It's like Area 51 or something. They seem to play well at home always. Yeah. I've never been in there and blown out somebody, but if it was even in Little Rock, I'd like it. But if it's in Fayetteville, I don't like it. But whatever. I'm going with them. Auburn money line. Let's go. All right. Who you got for your last pick, DJ?
Last pick, Florida at LSU. Florida's getting 10. This is my lock. I think Florida's going to beat LSU by more than 10 points.
All right, my last pick. And you know, DJ, that LSU was dead to me, right? Like I just can't bet them.
That's recorded and on air.
It's recorded on air. But after further review, and since I've been 50-50, what the hell to lose, right? I'm also going Florida -10 against LSU. Like, look, Florida, barring something crazy and having 52 turnovers and just pissing down their leg, Florida's at least a 21-point better team than LSU. LSU's got issues, a lot of them. I just don't see this being even a close game. Again, I could be wrong, and I probably am because I'm picking. So if you're an LSU fan, you ought to be really excited right now because every single time I pick a game of LSU, it goes the other direction. It happened again last week, and I tried to do the under last week, and what happens? It hit the over. So I'm picking Florida -10, so that probably means LSU's going to blow them out. But, look, I just don't – in any universe, they could play in a parking lot. Florida's a 21-point better team than LSU. I just – at least 21 points. I think that's a safe number. But, golly, if I lose this game, if I lose this one, I'm just like, I'm done. I really will be done. This is my last – this is the last chance that LSU has to being on my card. So, Florida -10, I'm with you. I would have put it as my lock if I didn't have the grave feeling of just LSU just always breaking my heart on both sides. But it is what it is. So, but look forward to this weekend. I think it's going to be some very interesting matchups. I'm excited to watch the Georgia-Kentucky game to see the matchup that I'm curious about is Kentucky's defense versus Georgia's offense. That's the matchup. How can they hold up? But I'm excited to see if Alabama can rebound. And for me, again, I love these matchups, right? And just like last week where Arkansas Ole Miss was the defensive matchup, I'm curious to see how that flips over on the offensive side of the ball. And then there's going to be I'm just letting you know, there's going to be a sneaky good game in the Big Ten this week. At Michigan State, Indiana is going to be a sneaky good game. Just telling everybody better Michigan State better have it buckled up when they show up to Bloomington this weekend. Because they're going to be that's what they're designed to stop on defense. They can stop the run, but Michigan State can run the football. So something's got to give there too. So that's going to be a fun game to watch as a college football fan. DJ, any closing thoughts?
If this week can live up to last week, then this is going to be an incredible week in college football. And so, I'm definitely tuned into that UK-Georgia game like you. I mean, we haven't even talked about this. The last two undefeated teams in the SEC. The last two undefeated teams in the SEC are playing this week. After this week, there will only be one undefeated team in the SEC. I mean, this game's got a lot on the line.
There's no doubt. If Kentucky goes into Georgia and upsets Georgia, the world will be put on top of its head.
Oh, no doubt.
It would be, Murray State will think that they got a chance to get in the college football playoff if Georgia loses this week. So,
well, let's put it this way. Kentucky is 6-0, right?
Yep.
And it's the first time that Kentucky has been 6-0 since 1950. 1950.
That's that Bear Bryant days, or was that before Bear?
That was Bear Bryant. No, yeah, it's Bear Bryant days. First time that Kentucky has been 6-0 since 1950. That's where this program has come from.
That was Eddie, our buddy Eddie Graham was at that game, wasn't he? In 1950.
I wish we had him on here to razz him. Hey, I saw him this weekend, by the way. It was great to see him, man. He's awesome. Cloud9, saw his family. I mean, it was a really good weekend. I saw a lot of friends. Stayed with Mark at his house, and we had great celebration after the game. And I mean, it was a good weekend.
Oh, so we didn't even talk about your hospitality. You had great hospitality too, then, huh? You had an inside scoop.
Yeah, I definitely. Fortunately for you and me, we've been in college football long enough. We got a lot of good friends, and when we go visit them, they take care of us. And I had a tremendous hospitality with Mark, and I mean, it was great. So many good friends back there. I got to see them all.
It's like when I went to Georgia a couple of weeks ago. We stayed with my friend. They know who they are. I want to throw them out here, but let me tell you something. Had some grilled pork chops. That was literally maybe the best thing ever. I mean, like, oh my gosh, they were like that thick. There's a joint up in Athens, the little meat joint they got over there. That, I mean, you just basically you put them, and it's like they come. It was weird. They come cooked. They come ready to go.
Right.
It's almost like sausages you get at the grocery store. Like your Johnsonville sausage or whatever. Not a sponsor of the show. And then, but you basically sear them and go. Oh my gosh! I mean, I was like, man. And then they did something like, I got to do this too because I know it's healthy, but I'm not a health guy. So I mean, it was like I was just eating. Like, as you can tell, I've been eating very good this fall. But they sliced like zucchini, like sliced really, really thin. I mean, super thin. And then put like some salt and some olive oil on it, and then like roasted them, and it was like zucchini chips.
Yeah,
dude, I'm talking about was eating right. So it was eating right. So anyway, yeah, good hospitality, good friends, man. I mean, it's
yeah, definitely.
It's good to have friends in the business when you're going to watch college football. It helps. So.
Oh, no doubt.
But anyway, well, guess what, DJ? We'll see. Well, I'm going. Like, I don't even feel great about half my picks because I didn't see. So this is the week I'll go undefeated. This is it.
All right, man. Hey, like I've said before, I love your confidence. I really do. I if you can't, what was the quote you sent me the other day? You gotta see it there before it'll be there. What was it?
Well, so
our associate Raquel taught you.
Raquel is a big speak it into existence. So
speak it into existence.
Speak it into existence. So when you got to speak things into existence. So no, I'm just kidding. I feel really good. The only one I just couldn't get my head around was the Auburn, like the money line game. Now, but they have a chance. They should. They probably have the best chance as an underdog that I saw. The guys that I feel good about of winning games on the underdog winning games. But that's going to be a really interesting game because they're both beat to hell. And so who's the healthiest come Saturday? So that's what that's going to determine. So, well, guess what, DJ? Until next time, take care.
We'll see you.